Okay. And hello, everybody, and good evening. It is, what is the date today?
12th?
The 12th of May, 2021. And it is Wednesday here on Live Long and Podcast. And it is time for our next edition of TED Trek Wednesdays. This week's episode of the original series that we're covering is called Elaan of Troyius, which is from the third season, 1968. We're here to talk about that as we continue our mission to complete a review of every Star Trek the Original Series episode, not in order. I'm Dave Mader, and bringing in next the namesake of this podcast, Ted Mader, my dad. How you doing, Dad?
Good, thanks.
Ready to talk about Elaan and the Troyans?
She's quite the ticket, that Elaan.
Oh yeah, she's quite the ticket.
Yeah, she's quite the ticket. She needed a good smack a few times.
Well, the ancient human custom of spanking.
Yes, this was discussed. She was interested in it too.
Adam, how are you doing tonight? You have my permission to speak. Also.
Well, hello, Dave. How you guys doing?
Good. I'm good. It's for just a commoner here. Courtesy is not inferior, around these parts. And bringing in last, esteemed panelist, we have Jody Simpson.
Hello.
Hey, Jody.
Hi.
And we're here to talk about Elaan of Troyius.
And spanking.
And spankings and other things. Okay. So
I'm just here for the spankings.
Yeah, maybe we'll just we'll kind of go around for the quick initial takes. Let's start with Dad. Dad, what was this episode for you?
I didn't really like this episode. For me, it was you give it a take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. No Gary 7.
No, this was worse than Gary 7.
Worse than Gary 7. Okay.
I didn't like this episode.
Okay. All right. So we got a bit of a cold response coming in from Dad. Adam, let's go over to you next. This episode for you. Are you giving thumbs up?
Nope. I was very bored in this episode. It wandered all over the place. I don't know what was going on. I don't understand what the goal here was. She annoyed the crap out of me. I found Kirk annoying. No, this episode was awful.
Don't worry. We don't even need a cure for the love potion because he's already married to the Enterprise.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Jody. Maybe you have a different take. Maybe you're.
I'm kind of
always waiting.
I'm kind of between the two of them actually.
Between us,
bad and worse.
I feel Ted is too low on it and Adam is too high on it. Okay. So I'm kind of in the middle there. It's you know what? It's an episode that the last 10 to 15 minutes is decent, and the rest is just it feels like a big long filler episode, and it's the typical he falls in love with somebody in 20 minutes and then it's there's another reason why he's in love with her, and all this shit. It's to me it's a mediocre episode at best.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you too that it doesn't really pick up for me until near the end, because of this. Maybe and for me, it's more the space battle with the Klingon ship.
Absolutely, yeah.
That I think is actually kind of interesting. And I imagine that in the original version, this was probably less.
What's interesting about the Klingon thing in the original version of it, before we got the remaster, is the original version used the exact same footage over and over again for the space battle. Whereas we're now treated to the CG version of it, where they can do different angles and stuff like that. So a little bit more interesting on the remake. But I actually did watch the clip of the Klingon battle, the original presentation, and it was definitely different. I would have been even more bored. Clip?
It was just like the ship flying by, or
over and over again. Wasn't very good.
So it would be a worse episode, is what you're saying?
It could have been worse. The fact that we got the remaster made it actually a little bit better.
Okay, because Ted said take it or leave it. I could have left that one all day long.
I definitely could have left this episode for sure. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, let's go back to the beginning, and we'll
Do we have to?
Well,
can we talk about something else? Can we talk about Miri?
Miri's a more
Where's your prop?
I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
no,
Well,
I'm
let's just
sorry,
talk about the teaser itself. So we start off the Enterprise is on a top secret diplomatic mission, and they've been sent to this star system. It's called the Talon star system. We'll never hear from them before or after this. And
God.
so there's no. So they have this ambassador Petri aboard. He's from Troyius, but there's also this other planet called Elas. That's the inner planet. So let's just introduce ourselves here to Ambassador Troyius, who we get to. He kind of looks like an Andorian, but he's not an Andorian.
Yeah, that was the kind of first.
Actually, he was interesting.
Yeah, so he's actually green, or kind of like almost like a teal, I guess.
It depends on what TV you're watching it on.
Yeah, because he kind of looks like the Andorian guy we had in what's it called, Journey to Babel, where I would even believe you if you told me he was the same actor.
More aqua, I felt, but my color tones might be wrong on my TV. I don't know.
Right, and so in the opening credits, he kind of Kirk tells us a few important things. We got this ambassador on board. We're at this star system. This star system is also sort of on the border of Klingon space, or it's sort of in proximity, but the Federation it's kind of in Federation control, but neither of these planets are members of the Federation either. They're kind of just neutral outskirts. So this is kind of on the frontier, I guess, is what we're led to believe. But that we start getting some reports here that the men of Elas, because there's like this turbolift ride here with Scotty, McCoy, Kirk, and Spock, and they're like, well, the men of Elas, they're vicious and arrogant, and maybe furthermore than that, they don't like to wear pants. Did anyone notice that?
No, I didn't know that.
Honestly, I was already bored at this point.
Did you not? I don't have a good shot here, but these here's the Elasian men. There was three of them.
Did they actually say that in the dialogue, or are you just using this as this is something you've observed?
The pants part?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was an observation because.
Okay. I was going to say because I don't remember hearing it. Yeah.
I don't have a wide shot here, but no, these the outfit of the Elysian men, they wore these kind of glitzy outfits, but they had no pants on.
Well, later you see one of them. I think it's that one. You see him in like the engineering area trying to sabotage it.
That's quite the hairdo he's got too, I must say.
It is very knockoff dollar store Ken doll.
It's like a bouffant.
Yes, it's very interesting.
Good call.
Yeah. So anyway, they say I guess there's been a Federation team here, so they're reading the reports, and McCoy says, "Hey, it's not just about the men. Yeah, the men are kind of a pain, but the women are something." And that's kind of where they leave the turbolift. They come up, and so I guess the three guards are like the guy I just showed with the bouffant, and the other two. They kind of come up first, and they said, "The Dolman's coming, everybody." The Dolman, and the ambassador's like, the Dolman's coming. We don't know what the Dolman is. That turns out the Dolman is Elaan, the queen. I guess she's like a princess of this place. But let's then she comes in and she's wearing her very interesting outfit here. Also the Elysian women don't believe in pants. It's worth noting.
I can't remember her name. Francis.
I like her boots.
The real name.
You like the boots? They're kind of like sandal boots.
She's like a French actress, though. I can't remember exactly her name. Francis something, I think. But
yeah, and so we get
very, very nice looking lady.
Not hard on the eyes. I will agree with you there. Sure. She goes through several costume changes throughout this episode too. She
doesn't have the record though.
Not the record, but she's a challenger.
She definitely puts up a fight for sure.
Yeah, she had this one.
What was that, Ted?
I didn't see her bring a suitcase.
Well, her servants have it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She had this one on. Sometimes she would change just between like trips to the bridge.
Oh, literally, yeah. Literally, she would walk off the bridge and then she'd come back later and she's in a completely different outfit.
Oh, she really was after Kirk.
Eventually, yeah.
Because she didn't want one of those green guys, so she was hoping he would go for her.
No, she didn't want. We never got to meet her husband or her betrothed.
But you can imagine he looked like that green guy.
He probably looked like Ambassador Petrie. Yes.
Yeah.
Ambassador Petrie tried to warn us right at the beginning of this episode that she's coming, and we didn't listen. And then we had 50 minutes of watching this.
They say that the dolmen is the person most feared and hated by the Troyans. That's what the ambassador tells us. I don't quite get it. At least not the fear part. She does.
She's annoying as hell, though.
Yeah. But basically, these two planets are on the verge of war, and so it's an old story. Oh well, the ruler of our planet or people has to marry the ruler of their planet, and then we'll all be at peace. I believe in Adam in Star Trek: The Next Generation, there was a similar story like this. I think, or like,
oh yeah, there definitely was. Yeah.
Yeah, like ones where this woman has to marry this person so that the galactic peace. And they might have done this on original series before too. I can't quite recall. But anyway, that's the whole premise. And so the ambassador says, "Hey, we gotta go to my planet now, Troyius, but we gotta go slowly. We gotta go really slowly at warp, or at impulse, at a factor of the impulse, so that we can teach her how to be a Troyan and get her kind of go through finishing school." Yeah. Adam, any thoughts on this? Even just the premise.
Okay, so you can't help but go to Helen of Troy, the Greek story, and it's Helen gets taken away to get married, but the difference is Elaan or whatever didn't want to be married, right? She's a warrior, doesn't want to be betrothed. She wants to fight. She's just mad because she doesn't want to be subservient, I think, to any man. She right, versus Helen, who willingly went in the Odyssey. But I feel like I don't know why was she betrothed? What's the goal? Is it to bring the country or bring the planets together? Is that what the whole thing was?
Yeah,
to kind of squash peace, because they've developed the ability to destroy one another with their military might.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it would be kind of like during the Cold War, like the president of the United States marrying the president of Russia. I guess it's monarchs. So.
I mean, well, you've had that in history too, right? But I get, she didn't want to do this, very, very clearly, right from the start. She comes on, she's got attitude, she's fighting everybody, behaving awfully. So there's no
I think she's controlled by her father.
She says the council. The council, some council, her planet's governing body is making her do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's not going to do it. So it's not going to work right off the bat. We know this is not going to, So Kirk's got a teacher, So the guy, what's his name? The green guy. He comes in and says, he says, okay, we need some help here, obviously, right? But she's got some pretty big boundaries set. She doesn't want anybody in her quarters. She doesn't want anybody touching her. She doesn't want anybody telling her what to do. So I don't know what they're going to do here. And then the other thing, Kirk, you mentioned Next Gen, but Picard would have basically said, okay, we've got a problem here. This woman doesn't want to do this, and would have taken a whole story in another direction. But Kirk is going, no, you got to do this. and we can get into what
this is my mission. I've been ordered to do something. You've been ordered to do something. We all have a duty here. It's kind of his line.
Right.
What the Federation getting involved in this whole thing is a little bit non-prime directive to me.
Well, there was a reason behind it. You found out at the end of the show why they were involved.
Why the Klingons are involved?
No, but also the Federation. Don't think they didn't know about this?
Well, Kirk didn't.
No, they might not have told anybody.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe this was kind of maybe that's why it's a top secret mission. Maybe all of this, So
the Klingons are involved. Why? Because there's another dilithium mine or something involved, right? It's another mining.
Right, because what we find out from her necklace at the end is that her whole planet is full of dilithium.
Not her planet. Wouldn't it be Troyus's planet? Because they gave her the necklace.
Yeah, it was Troyius.
Was this the necklace that they give her, or is this the necklace you just had? Okay.
No, this is the necklace that they gave her as like a good faith thing.
Okay, so then perhaps it's just they're just common on, or maybe they're common on both planets for all we know. But it's that's what ends up being sort of like what saves the day. But but Kirk doesn't know any of that. Kirk just like knows I have to give this taxi ride to Petrie and Elaan and her guard and get them to this other planet, which under normal circumstances would take no time at all.
I wonder how many next original series episodes were just taxi episodes. Because there's a lot of them. Like there's a lot of we have to give a ride to somebody. It's like, are they like the Uber of the Federation?
I guess it's just the reality of space travel. You got to get around, and
not everybody has the same capabilities, obviously. So
right, some ships are faster.
It's also a diplomatic mission. I mean, so. But that I can live with. All of that is fine. It just the stories and the acting was just dreadful.
Yeah, season 3.
Well, I wouldn't say the acting was horrendous, but it certainly wasn't great. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think you're struggling with Kirk in this episode, right? In particular.
She wasn't that great either. I felt. I guess they just told her play the spoiled brat, go. And
she did well. I liked her more than that.
Did that fine.
That the one he was romancing, the one that was the daughter of Kodos. I like her better than her.
Yeah. And I liked her better than Catwoman a few weeks ago too. I can't remember.
Right. Yeah.
And she's better than Troy's mom, that's for sure.
Right. But we don't get a great introduction to Elaan before she becomes Kirk's, before he becomes infatuated with her. He gets called down. These quarters are no good, and we find out Uhura is the one who gave up her quarters. Somehow that she had volunteered for the job. Yeah,
which to me seemed kind of odd because it was do they have quarters for this? Every engineering spec that I've ever seen, and I'm going geeky and a little nerdy here, but my understanding is they have an ambassador's quarters, like a quarters for esteemed guests for this type of thing.
Claimed it.
Why? Yeah. Well, well, okay, that makes sense then. Okay, I never put that together. But
no, you're right. They should have more than one room for a guest.
Yeah, this doesn't make a lot of sense. But obviously, it's not the size of the D, for instance, in Next Gen. So it's obviously different sizes, I guess.
Right, but we get to go to Uhura's quarters, I guess, for maybe the first time in the show, the only time I can remember. And then we get there, and she's breaking stuff. She's breaking Uhura's things. She's throwing things at Petrie. She's pissed off. She's not. She doesn't want the slippers.
Which does develop one of the best lines in this entire show, which is I'll have people bring down and fill the whole room up with stuff you could break. I love that line.
Yeah, I'll arrange to have the whole room filled floor to ceiling with breakable objects.
Breakable objects. I was that's hilarious. That was good.
Yeah, and then outside, once he kind of puts her in her place a little bit for the first time, Petrie's like, I can't do this. My king or my ruler, this will never work. I have to do something. And he's like, I don't know, man, go in stronger. She seems to like strength. You need to go in tough. Don't try to impress her. So apparently we don't get to see what his other approach was, but he gets a knife in the back the next time he tries to go back, and somehow she gets off the hook for that. I guess because he lives, but
with the amount of shit that Kirk put up with, and other staff put up with, on her visit, you would think at this point they would just kind of throw her out of an airlock or something and be done. It's. Especially the knife stuff. She's throwing knives at Kirk through the episode. It happens twice, I think. It's
knife throwing.
Yeah, well, and she ends up giving the knife to him as a memento later on. But it's oh, here's the knife I tried to kill you with earlier.
What did she say when she gives him that knife at the end? She's like, the Troyans don't wear knives or something like that. Or...
I didn't catch it at that point. I was pretty phased out.
They don't allow them, I guess. It was also after this like initial encounter in Uhura's quarters and all this that Spock. We come back to the bridge. Spock's talking about a sensor ghost, and this is kind of like the beginnings of the hinting that this Klingon ship is coming. It always drives me nuts with Spock because Kirk's like, okay, so your sensors are working. It's not like a cloud or a natural reflection. So he goes speculation, and Spock's like, I got nothing. And Kirk's like, really? Because could it be a ship? He's like, well,
could it be? Do you think that the Klingons had the cloaking device going, and that's why they couldn't pick them up?
Possibly, yes. There has been a lot of fans who have said that, like, because the Romulans, because we saw last week in that episode we watched that they were using the Enterprise incident, they were using the Klingon design, and there's been so a lot of fans fill in the gaps here, and they say, well, that maybe the Romulans traded cloaking devices to the Klingons for like the design to their ship, and so there was sort of a technology exchange here.
I think the bigger problem we have here is the fact that Spock, being the top science officer of this ship, is the one that constantly looks like a dink on the Enterprise. Like it's literally like Kirk, who's Mr. Gung Ho, I'll bang anything on any port, is always going, oh, Spock, did you think of this, you dumbass? It's like, what? Like, why is he even there then? Like, do we need Spock at this point?
Like, in a lot of episodes, though.
Well, he does that on more than one episode, though.
Sometimes he's like the smartest guy on the ship.
It's like,
there's games that Wayne Gretzky didn't score a goal too, but I mean, it's.
Well, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Like
there are stories though from the set of the original series that say that William Shatner would sometimes steal lines from Nimoy, from Spock in filmings to make Kirk sound smarter.
That is something that's in Spock's book too, Leonard Nimoy's book.
Yeah,
he does mention that. Yeah,
he not just with Spock. He would also do it with he would take lines from Scotty, and he would take lines from other characters to just.
Yeah, there's a story in the book where he talks about he was taking lines from like I can't even remember who it was, but it was like some famous episode, and it was like the bad guy in the episode. He was like trying to take lines from that, and they're like, it won't make sense when you say it. Like, stop trying this.
Stop trying to take my lines. Yeah. And so there's so maybe there's something. Maybe this is one of those occasions. Hard to say.
Maybe. Yeah.
We also had this other scene where Kirk has to go to engineering because Elaan and her personal guard want to look around, and Scotty's like, I'm trying to be nice here, but this is kind of like they're walking around my engine and everything else, and we find there was Buddy, her guard or whatever, the guy with the bouffant who later sabotages the ship. He was kind of scouting out, and she says, well, we're not too interested in how fast your ship can go. We're just interested in combat. I love when Scotty gets all indignant. He's like, do you not think that if the ship's not flying, you're going to be able to fight something like that your engines, it's not all about the weapons. It's kind of his point to her. And he gets pretty indignant. It's that's not the whole thing. And we get this impression too, that their technology is inferior to Federation and Klingon technology, respectively, of these two worlds. Then they find out, guess what? That Ghost, it is a Klingon warship. And then we find Petrie blind in a pool of blood with daggers. Huh?
Who was the commander of that Klingon ship?
We never get a name for him.
I don't think they name him.
They don't name him. Krog, I believe, is some versions. Let's just have a quick look at this guy here. He's called just Klingon in the script. He's played by K.L. Smith.
He looks like the guy that reaches up and finds stuff at Home Depot for you.
He definitely has like a Worf look, and I do find it interesting that he has that Klingon emblem in the background behind his head, but it's turned sideways.
Oh yeah, I never noticed that.
Neat. Yeah, this guy he kind of looks like Michael Dorn to me a little bit.
He's got a little bit of the facial features, for sure.
Yeah, we never do get a name.
Maybe this is the guy who they based Michael Dorn's character on.
Maybe, yeah. Like he was kind of dull, but like when I think of like original series Klingons, this guy never comes up. No. Why not?
Because people want to forget this episode, maybe.
Maybe that's it. Because he gets more screen time than like Koloth got in like The Trouble with Tribbles.
Well, there was a lot of Tribbles to deal with.
True.
You don't got time. You don't got time for Klingons there, Dave.
compared to like the Klingon we had watched in the Julie Newmar episode, who he got vaporized, so he there was no chance for him to reprise that role. But yeah, anyway, this guy, he was sometimes in the card game, the Star Trek customizable card game. His name was given as Code, KHOD. So let's call him that.
Fair enough.
And so yeah, the ambassador's in the blood. They find him down there. Then they go to sick bay. Guess what? He's fine. Kirk tries to go visit her, and the guards. Did I skip over something? Oh, I did. I'm sorry. So Petrie's going to recover. Then we find out in sick bay, the Federation High Commissioner is on his way. What does a High Commissioner do?
The Federation?
Didn't
we have? I
don't know. We have had this conversation before.
Who was the last Federation Commissioner?
Wasn't it when Kirk was on trial? Wasn't he a commissioner?
The Galileo 7.
Galileo 7, yeah.
There was Commissioner Ferris in that one, and he was so.
Yep.
Every time one of those guys shows up on one of the shows, he's always getting in the way. At least this time that didn't happen.
Yeah, at least this time he didn't say, "I'm taking over the ship and going my way." Yeah.
Yeah, they
I guess a commissioner is just like their version of an ambassador, like they did on Next Gen. Yeah, or an admiral. Yeah.
Yeah, I always kind of was like it was more like a political position or something, but
yeah, you would think it would be more like something political. Yeah.
So Kirk's not too happy to hear that this big wig is coming to the affair. So that only makes this a little bit more. You can see he has like a groan when he gets this news.
Yeah, no, sure.
And Chapel, she just wants to. She's talking to Petrie. She's like, "Tell me the secret of the Elysian women and how they get all the men after them. I need to know."
She wants to turn it on to Spock.
It's easy. What you do is you find a guy who produced the show and made a show called Star Trek, and you bang the fuck out of him. That'll work.
And he'll keep casting you.
And he'll keep casting you. Good job.
For decades.
And later you'll be in a fucking really annoying character in Next Gen.
Lwaxana Troi. Yeah, and so he explains this thing. Well, their tears. If their tears touch the men, it's biochemical. It's not magic. It's gonna make them. It's like a love potion. But Kirk doesn't quite hear this part.
Of course,
like cyanide or something.
Right. I like when he goes to visit her, Elaan after sick bay, after they figure out Petrie's not going to die. By the way, Petrie, I love the shade he throws at Kirk. He's like, "This is all your fault, Kirk. You made me go in tough, and then she stabbed me in the back. You're even more to blame than she is."
Yeah, I don't know where the logic was on that one, but all right.
Yeah. He was throwing Kirk completely under the bus. So he goes to see her, and I did like this whole scene here where she was drinking, like she was eating all the food, kind of like really like without manners, I suppose.
She was kind of like aggressively eating like the Klingons. Yeah.
This is a fork.
Did you know? Did you notice the Saurian brandy? She was. Are you familiar?
Yes.
Yes. So this is that bottle. Here's the bottle of Saurian brandy, as we see here. It's got this kind of this thing. And if you don't know what a Saurian is, well, there's Kirk pounding down on the Saurian brandy. But this is what a Saurian looks like, Dad.
What's a Saurian?
They're like kind of like a lizard people.
They're like a fish person.
They're like a salamander or a gecko kind of. Like here, this is the more modern version we get now. This is Linus. They're a little bit in Next Gen. They're more. This picture is from Star Trek: The Motion Picture, like the first movie.
Oh yeah,
you can tell by that uniform.
Yeah, and then
Vigor.
This is their more modern look. Is this? They're kind of like a bunch of lizard people.
Are they Federation?
Yeah, they're Federation.
They're in the Federation,
yeah. And they like brandy. It's
so does Kirk, apparently.
And so does Elaan of Troyius.
I like my women throwing knives and my brandy from fish people.
So she's pounding it back, going off there. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna teach you some etiquette. I'm gonna be your new teacher." Meanwhile, Crichton, who was the guy with the bouffant that we were mentioning earlier, this guy, he's in engineering, being sneaky, doing some sneaky things. And we see that it's the night shift in engineering, and during the night shift, security's at a minimum, personnel is at a minimum.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense considering the ship runs 24 hours a day. The only reason why they have a supposed night shift is because they have a clock that they use, right?
Right.
So it's like, why would they tone it down at that point? Like, it doesn't make much sense.
No.
Dad, you got a thought on that?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because there's it's all the same. It's a 24-hour clock, and every 8 hours is the same as the last 8 hours. You know, it's like there's no day.
There's no day. Like we know they have sort of a night just to help keep them sane, but yeah, I don't understand why security has to be at a lax during those times. But anyway, this allowed Crichton, who we'll come to learn was going to marry Elaan, but never got the chance. He was pissed off about this whole thing, and he made some kind of deal with the Klingons, it seems, to get them killed. Is that what happened here? Like, okay,
yeah.
What was Crichton's plan?
He set it up so that when the guys from the Enterprise went into warp drive, it would explode. So
he sabotages the warp drive. Now we see this other engineer, Watson. He catches them. He's the only guy assigned to engineering at that time, and Crichton, he turns around and he snaps his neck faster and kills him. I was like, he killed, like, I couldn't even believe he was dead when I found out later that, and we only know his name's Watson because Scotty names him, but I was shocked that he was dead from this whole, like, it was just like, it didn't make a lot of sense, even just like the mechanics of it, but he, like, maybe that he could possibly have knocked him out, but it happened so quickly. It's kind of weird. And he kind of goes back to doing his sabotage work. And then Kirk visits Elaan again. He says, the guard's like, if we let you in, I'm going to be whipped to death. That's what she told me. So I can't let you in.
But you know, there's guys who work in real life in the Israeli secret police are called the Mossad. There's guys at the Israeli secret police that could snap your neck just like that guy did. That easy. Just that easy. They're trained to do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's...
Yeah.
In this TV show, it just like it was like
I mean, that's similar kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, I can believe it's possible. It's just not done in TV.
You got to know how to do it and which way to do it and all that, but they're trained to do it.
Yeah, well, that Crichton, quite the assassin.
I'm just looking at Adam's facial expressions this entire time. I'm just like, wow.
Well, you know, he's
not a happy camper.
No, it was. Yeah, it was okay. No, it wasn't even okay. It wasn't even okay.
It wasn't even okay. I just kind of like going through the beats of the episode just to make sure we don't miss it.
Oh no. I'm no reflection on you,
Dave. I just don't have a lot to say about it. Yeah.
What about in Act 3 though? When he goes to see her and she's just like, she's throwing her fit, but she goes, I just want people to not hate me. I just want people to like me.
Oh my God. Okay. So the
he's triggered now.
You change from this insolent girl to this, oh my God, I just want people to like me. It was a Sally Field moment. She
exactly what I thought.
Like,
I'm like, this is a Sally Field performance if I've ever seen one. Yeah.
And then Kirk moves in, right? Oh boy, and gets
like, how many times do you need to see knives hitting people in the back and stuff before you realize that she's not innocent? Like, not even close.
She's an attempted murderer.
Yeah, and you know what? The whole time, like, I would never put myself in a room with her alone, like unless there's like cameras everywhere, because I'd be afraid of something happening.
Get a knife in the back? Could that be
literally and figuratively? Yes,
that could be something.
She's been known to do it, but that Petrie's kind of a jerk, so he kind of had it coming. Maybe
I liked him. He was a good guy.
Yeah, he was all right. Yeah, but so he kind of gets infected though here with the tears because he's trying to wipe it away.
But sorry, Dave. Didn't we pass the part where he belts her across the face?
Oh yeah.
She slapped him and then he slapped her right back.
Yeah.
That was before the tears.
Yes.
That was before the tears. Yeah.
I did brush over that. Yeah, that did happen. Just like how McCoy likes to slap Julie Newmar. This was how you get women's attention in the 60s.
Yes.
Dad, tell me. It was the 60s. We didn't know.
Yeah. I'm sure Ted didn't go around belting women in the face.
No, I'm pretty sure that didn't happen.
I would have only been 8 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you didn't see it.
Well, then maybe he did.
Is that what happened though? Did
You didn't.
like the woman would hit the man and then the man would hit the woman back in those days?
No,
well, that was always on TV. It was like a traumatic thing. Like, you know.
You never saw that. I never saw that. I was completely oblivious to anything.
But it was also a very Bond thing too, right? I mean, every Bond movie back in the early days was always being slapped.
The Connery Bonds alone were, about slapping women and taking names.
Try to give them the last word, but it's not enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, and then it says they embrace and make love. They actually got it on after this, but we don't see it.
That's probably a good thing.
Sometime later, after they've all put their clothes back on, they're trying to call Kirk, but he's not answering right away. They're like, "Hey, the Klingons following us, and we just picked up a communication from inside the ship."
So are you telling me when the door opens, they open the door on them?
And Spock and McCoy are standing there.
Yeah, that comes a little later. Yes, but yes, that they're like, "Hey, can we talk to you for a minute, maybe?"
Oh, Adam, he's losing it. Oh man,
it was a mistake. Yeah. It was a mistake.
Yeah,
exactly. How many do you get? Like yeah.
Can you just see them like they open the door and they go, "Oh God, he's at it again." Like
he's like, "Well, at least she's not green."
Right, but before that happened, there was the whole thing where he went to engineering. They figured out Creighton has killed Watson, and he's like, "I can resist any torture you can throw at me, Kirk." And he's like, "Don't worry, I got a Vulcan who's going to come down here and mind probe you." But then he just vaporizes himself.
And steals the guy's thing.
Okay. By the way, this guy, whatever his name was, worst security guard ever. Because he's the one he grabs the phaser off of and vaporizes himself. And he's like, sorry, sir. I didn't think he'd grab it.
So this is something that's always bugged me in Star Trek, and it happens in all of the series, and I don't get it. They have the technology to go warp 10, but they don't have the technology to make it so you have to fucking have some sort of weird safety on a fucking phaser. Like, like every phaser is just open and ready to rock. Like, it don't matter. Like, it doesn't matter who's holding it. You know, it could be a 3-year-old kid running around with a phaser, like shooting away everybody in the fucking ship.
Well, you remember
and no one can do anything about it.
There was that homeless guy in City on the Edge of Forever who takes McCoy's phaser and he's just playing with it and he vaporizes himself.
Yeah. It's like you'd think a technology that is so like, we have gun locks.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, there's got to be something there. But obviously that's not going to lead to the drama, right? So.
Yeah. Like, I just think if Kirk had more time, he would have definitely said, "Buddy, you're on the night shift now." That was bad.
Not only are you on the night shift, but you got to go night shift in engineering.
Yeah, you're night shift engineering and next
or med bay. You're like med bay probably is.
People get their milk poisoned sometimes.
You got to go protect Nurse Chapel. That's what you got to do.
She's trying to crack the love potion number 9 formula.
Oh right.
So anyway, so then they start checking. He goes, "Hey, Scotty, find out why he'd be willing to die. You check for sabotage. Check the relays." He's like, "Do you know how long that's going to take?" He's like, "Stop talking about it. Start doing it. That's your job."
Yeah. Why are you still here talking to me? Yeah.
Which is a good thing that, like, even though Kirk is sort of dazed and he's under this love spell, he's still actually pretty good at his job. He's not like his faculties seem intact. He's like,
that was kind of entertaining though when he came to the bridge and he's trying to do his job and he's got that. You know, he's distracted clearly, but you know, he's still doing it.
Right.
Yeah, that was all right.
Like, hey, it was kind of just the whole crew reacting like Here he goes again. Kirk's gonna Kirk. You know?
Only Kirk can Kirk. Yeah.
Only what his mission is: take this woman from one planet to the next in the same solar system. You know,
And she's gonna end up in his quarters. So one way or the other.
Right. This is where the Klingons start to kind of up the ante here, because we find out that Scotty says, "Hey, if you try to go into warp to fight these Klingons, we're going to blow ourselves up." That's what this Creighton guy did. Yeah. So that's why I question his plan. His plan was to blow them all up.
I think so. Yeah.
That's the gist. Yeah.
To prevent the woman he loved from getting turned over to the green guys.
Well, then he could have just killed her. He didn't have to kill everybody.
Oh no, he was going to
go on a blaze of glory. Those Elasians, man, that's how they roll.
It just amazes me that they always have these devices that are just completely compatible with the Enterprise.
Yeah, well, there was this whole other thing too, where like he's like, "Okay, I've dismantled the bomb, Captain, but the dilithium crystals are gone. It's been fused. We don't even have enough power for our phaser banks now."
And this is when you mark the episode. This is the part where it actually gets decent.
Well, the ship's running on kind of like fumes, if you will. It's running on reserve power, not on full.
I have to ask you this though, Dave. Did it bother you that they didn't use photon torpedoes?
Well, they did use them at the end when
but the entire time they would have been able to do that.
Right, because the photon torpedoes don't run on the ship's power.
You got it. But anyway, that's just me being picky.
Yeah, even like, didn't we establish like there was another episode where the power was being drained, but they said that the phasers were like a separate power bank, or they were.
Oh, you're totally right. Yes.
So that was inconsistent with what we had learned in that episode, but
yeah, because that was in the technical manual. Yeah,
suits the plot anyway. So they keep getting like calls, like basically like Kirk doesn't want to give away too much. He doesn't want the Klingons to know he's out of power, because if they know the ship's low power, they'll just destroy them. If they try to go to warp, which they initially they can't, and then they can't do anything else, so they need to kind of keep the Klingons sort of at bay as much as they can without directly engaging with them right away. And
this was the fun part of the episode. I loved it.
It was where it was like, okay, and there was like more tactical maneuvers, and it was kind of like you saw like Kirk, like he's like
Adam doesn't feel the same though.
No, it was. You're right. If we're gonna end, we might as well end with a battle, and that's good.
Yeah.
Well, just seeing Kirk, even compared to like that episode, The Balance of Terror, I felt like, like this is a good example of Kirk, like, come about, go to Mark Point 4, whatever he's saying, right? Like he's kind of directing Sulu and Chekhov and the crew in a combat scenario, which is this would
have been the part that the 8-year-old Ted would have really liked, I think. Because this is the action and fun part. This isn't the romance part. Like this is the fun part, right? Yeah. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think if I was an 8-year-old watching this for the first time,
you're probably right on the money, because
this is the best part. This is the cool stuff.
When I grow up, I need a girlfriend whose necklace I can turn into dilithium crystals, who, in case I'm fighting Klingons at the right moment,
You know what? It always helps to have some extra ones. I question how radioactive they are. But...
Right. So Spock goes, "Hey, I'm picking up some radiation, the radons, which ends up being dilithium, and we talked about was maybe from that they're common stones, at least on the one planet."
Yeah, we think it's on Troyius. Yeah.
If it helps, take it. Whatever you want. So Spock takes it down to Scotty, and then they kind of figure out, well, they're not the right shapes, but we can kind of maybe make them work, or maybe we'll blow ourselves up. And Kirk's like, I don't got a choice. Like either this works or it doesn't. So go for it. Goes for the Hail Mary.
At that point, I'm like, is Scotty just going to be like, you know what, Kirk? Like, piss off. Like, I know what I'm doing.
Right. And it's
what, you're an engineering expert now too?
Yeah, like and it's one of these things where Scotty, he gets it just in the nick of time, and everything works out quite well. And he's like, "Hey, Chekhov, when they're least expecting them, photon torpedo them," and that's what he does. And they get the drop on them. And she goes, "You're not gonna finish them off? You're not gonna finish?" He's like, "No, that's not my style."
Yeah, but in her culture, that might be like that might be a sin basically to leave your enemy wounded but not dead.
Yeah, but okay, like wouldn't there be like ramifications from this? Because I know the Klingons and the Federation aren't at war at this point, but they did.
Yeah, but they're not in the neutral zone, so this is clearly an attack.
Yeah, so I would imagine that this would reflect badly on.
Well, I think that's the reason why they they didn't finish off the Klingons, right?
Right. They're like, we're totally bringing this up.
The Klingons attacked them first.
Oh, yeah. I know. I'm saying, wouldn't the Klingon what would the consequences of that be like? I guess.
I think at that point,
the Klingons
well, you have throughout the entire original series as well as the movies, like the Klingons are always the bad guys, right? Like so, undiscovered country is when they kind of get together, right? So it's.
Yeah, like eventually they become like as was told to us in the very first appearance of the Klingons, which was the one with Kor, the one in this first season.
You just mentioned it. Now I don't remember it.
You know the one I mean.
Anyway, yes.
The one with the Organians. Anyway, so it's the Klingons and the Federation would be friends one day. They say that in that episode. But anyway, so Kirk takes out the Klingons, and then it's kind of like the end of the mission. Okay, we got to take you to Troyius. She's
Errand of Mercy.
Errand of Mercy.
Yes,
that's it.
Yes. I think you're right, Ed.
Yeah. And she gives him the dagger, and he's kind of sad. He's like, bye. But then on the bridge, McCoy's like, hey, I got the antidote. And he's like, don't worry about it. He's
what a waste of McCoy, like always. They always waste McCoy.
If it was that easy for him to get over it, how powerful could it really have been?
Well, it affects different people differently, I'm sure.
Right.
So.
Possibly humans weren't as effective.
It's basically just a pheromone, like, let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen more. Like, remember when the Orions came on Star Trek Enterprise? They had more control on those men than she did on her.
For sure. Yes.
Okay, so that's it for the plot. It was not take it or leave it.
I can't believe we managed to spend 50 minutes talking about that.
We did. We put full 50 minutes. Any fun facts?
Yeah, I have some queued up here if you want.
Okay.
Actually, one of the things that I was thinking of the entire time was I'm like, this sounds so familiar. And apparently in Star Trek The Next Generation's episode called Relics, which is the one where Scotty, they find Scotty in a transporter beam and he's running around with Jody for half the episode. Dyson Sphere, I think it was, yeah. This is one of the many adventures which the revived Scotty reminisces about with them when they're drinking. So
is this one of the ones they mentioned?
This is one of them. That's why I was like, oh, this makes perfect sense. And
Really?
Speaking of Star Trek The Next Generation, The Perfect Mate is actually the episode you're thinking of, Dave, which is a complete retelling of this episode. Yep.
I hate that episode.
But the difference is they were horrified. Like the next generation was like,
yeah, they're like, I can't believe how terrible they are.
Right. Because it wasn't that one. It was the woman, the perfect mate. She was going to be like the consort of this other king or something.
Yeah, wasn't that Jean Grey?
Famke Janssen?
Yes, it was Famke Janssen. Yeah, Jean Grey from X-Men. Yep.
Yeah,
same person.
That's right. I hate that.
Yes. Yeah, it's a terrible episode, even though she's a fun actress and she's easy on the eyes. Mm-hmm. So France Nugent, which is the one who played Elaan, is believed to be the first person of Vietnamese descent to appear on an American television show.
Oh.
I had no idea she was Vietnamese.
I thought she was French, but I could be wrong on that.
I thought she was black, like maybe French black.
She's definitely got some olive tones to her for sure. Yeah. Okay. Frances Nugent, who plays Elaan, starred opposite of William Shatner on Broadway in the show The World of Susie Wong from 1958 to 1960. And they reunited again after that in Kung Fu, A Small Beheading in 1974. So after
3 times they worked together.
They've worked 3 times together, yeah.
In 3 different decades?
Apparently, yes. Yes, at this point, yes, it would have been 58 to 74. Yeah, so it would be.
And you got to remember, but one more thing, adding to your last point, the Vietnam War was still going on.
Yes, it was. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that would be interesting as well, right? So,
Yeah.
Mel Brooks, we all either love him or hate him, I guess. But Mel Brooks based many of the characteristics of his character Princess Vespa from his classic Star Wars spoof Spaceballs on Elaan. So
Who plays
she was a
Vespa?
bratty.
Yeah,
I can't remember who played her. Yeah, but no, that makes perfect sense though, because every time you watch Spaceballs, you're like, I just want to slap that bitch. So it makes perfect sense. So yeah, well done there on Mel Brooks's part for sure. This is the only original series episode that is written and directed by the same individual. In this case, John Meredith Lucas, which I'm sure Dave probably already knew.
Yeah, is this the only one like that? You're saying?
This is the only episode that is written and directed by the same individual. Yeah.
I have a picture. I can't show it. Why?
Well, I'll keep talking while you're doing that.
You keep going. Yeah.
The Klingon captain says, quote, "No terms, surrender must be unconditional and immediate," paraphrasing the famous policy by U.S. Civil War General Ulysses S. Grant. So there you go. A scene with Spock playing his Vulcan harp in the recreation room was set to be filmed, but they edited it out. So there's one good thing about the episode, I guess, that we didn't have to see that again.
There he is, John Meredith Lucas. He's the writer
There
and
he is.
director.
Writer and director of this episode, yeah. Yeah, there you go. This in Star Trek, the original series Errand of Mercy, shows a Klingon flip-top communicator similar to the one used by Starfleet. This communicator was originally seen as in, I'm going to butcher this, Eminar 7 communicator in Star Trek, the original series A Taste of Armageddon. Taste of Armageddon. So there you go. Yes. That's, what was that episode? I can't remember now.